On March 15, 2024, at 6:15 a.m., four grown men were pulling a net that would normally be carried by one person, and yet it refused to come up. It was as if the ocean itself refused to give up what was there. What would you do if your net pulled up something that defied your understanding of reality? Something that not only changed your life, but touched the hearts of thousands? Because in the next few minutes, you will learn why four seasoned fishermen wept like babies at what rose from the water, and why an entire community still talks about what happened that day. Picture a small coastal town nestled on the east coast of America. The early morning air was thick with the distinctive scent of seaweed, mixed with the faint aroma of coffee from the still-closed harbor diner. Marcus Thompson, 47, has been fishing these waters for 3 decades. He knows every current, every shoal. But in that moment, he would have to question everything. This is the story of how Mary, mother of Jesus, is still performing miracles today. To understand what made that day so extraordinary, you need to know Marcus Thompson. And he's not the kind of person you'd expect to be at the center of a miracle. Marcus grew up in a third-generation fishing family, a practical, grounded man. He went to church only for weddings and funerals. He prayed only when the storms got too dangerous. But there's something you need to know about Marcus, something that makes the events of that day all the more powerful. 2 years earlier, Marcus had lost his youngest son, David, who was just 16, in a car accident. Since then, his faith had become complicated. As he himself often said, "If God is up there, he and I don't talk much these days." Linda, his wife of 25 years, remained faithful. She prayed every night. Marcus respected her, but didn't join in. "Everyone deals with grief in their own way," he often said, and it was that raw wound that made what was about to happen impossible to ignore. Sarah, a kindly 78-year-old woman who often sits on the pier, always says that this sea is different. She says her grandfather told her of a sacred promise of protection long ago.
Marcus woke up, as usual. The alarm clock rang and he turned it off mechanically.
Strong black coffee, toast, a ritual repeated for 30 years. But as he looked out the window, a vague sense of unease came over him.
The ocean was strangely, almost frighteningly, quiet. In his 3 decades of fishing, Marcus had never seen water so calm. Windless, the surface was a giant mirror, reflecting the gray pre-dawn sky. He was preparing for, noticing his pensive look. He thought there was something strange in the air today. He had no idea how right he was. Marcus cast his net in the same familiar spot as always. 5 kilometers from shore, 40 meters deep. It was the fish pond his father had taught him, and his grandfather had taught his father before that. But this time, deep beneath the dark waters, something else was waiting for him. 30 minutes later, when he started to pull up the net, the winch started to whine. The net did not budge. His first reaction was frustration. It must have been tangled on a reef or an old shipwreck. That happened from time to time. But he immediately realized that this weight was different. It wasn't the sluggish, dead weight of a snagged net. It was a weight that felt precious and sacred. Marcus pulled harder. Nothing. He started the engine, moved the boat to change the angle of the pull. Still nothing. He tried another approach. The net remained stubbornly still. That's when he realized something that sent a chill down his spine, and he immediately reached for his walkie-talkie to call Jake, his fishing buddy on a nearby boat. The water around the net, right above where the object was stuck, was starting to glow strangely, a soft bluish-white light emanating from the depths. "Jake, I need help here. Something very strange is going on." Jake arrived 10 minutes later, not only alone, but also with 3 other experienced fishermen, Tom and Roberto. 4 men concentrating all the strength and machinery of the 2 boats. Yet the net still lay there, motionless at the bottom. Jake, who has spent 40 years of his life at sea, later recounted with a trembling voice, "I've never seen anything like it. It was as if the sea was trying to protect me." They tried every angle. Nothing. They used more powerful motors. The net wouldn't budge an inch. Everything was working perfectly. Tom, the most skeptical of the group, said in frustration, "This doesn't make any sense. There's no strong current, no obvious obstruction. Why won't it come up?"
Do you feel it?
And then Marcus, the most practical man, said something none of them expected. Guys, can you feel it?
If hope is lost, why do we continue?
Feel what? The cold?
Because we have no
Jake
other
asked.
choice, Captain.
No,
What else is there?
this peace.
What in God's name is wrong with the water?
I don't know, Marcus.
It's too still.
And at exactly 6:30 a.m., just as the bells of St. James Church in the harbor began to ring, which was odd since the bells usually only rang at 7 a.m., the net finally moved. It began to be pulled up, surprisingly gently. Marcus was the first to see the light. It was not a reflection of the sun, which was still low on the horizon. And then, out of the glowing water, it emerged. A statue of the Virgin Mary, the mother of Jesus, carved from some dark wood they couldn't recognize, about 12 inches tall. But this was what made all four tough men freeze. The statue was perfect, down to every detail. Not a trace of saltwater corrosion, not a sign of wear and tear, not a strand of moss or algae. The statue was strangely dry, as if it had never been submerged in water. Roberto, a devout Catholic, knelt on the wet floor of the boat, crossing himself over and over. "Impossible," he repeated in Italian. "Wood cannot survive like this in the ocean." Impossible! But there is more. At the base of the statue, there is an intricately carved ancient Latin inscription. Mater omnium sperantium. Mother of all hopes.
And that was when Marcus, who had kept his heart closed for the past 2 years, felt an unprecedented sense of peace spread throughout his body as his fingers touched the warm wood. Tears began to stream down his haggard face. But this was just the beginning, because when they brought the statue back to the harbor, what happened next would shock the small city. By 10:30 a.m., the fishing port was back to its usual Thursday morning bustle. Seagulls were screeching, boats were coming in. Everything was fine until Marcus and 3 others walked onto the pier with an unbelievable story and a strange wooden statue. Dr. William Hayes happened to be at the docks picking up his pre-ordered fresh fish. His practice was just 2 blocks away. A physician of 35 years, a leading orthopedist, and a believer in evidence-based science, his reaction to the fisherman's story was predictable. "You guys drink wine for breakfast?" he grumbled. But Dr. Hayes had a serious personal problem. He had suffered from severe arthritis in both hands for the past 15 years. The constant pain had made him consider early retirement, as his hands were no longer able to perform delicate surgeries. Marcus, still in a state of half-dreaming, his face still wet with tears but glowing with serenity, held out the statue. "Doctor, would you like to take a look, just to confirm that we've all gone crazy?"
Here it is, Doctor. I don't know how.
Dr. Hayes, with a scientist's skepticism, shrugged and picked up the statue. He turned it over and over, examining it from every angle. "An interesting preservation," he admitted, struggling for a logical explanation. "Maybe a special type of wood, chemically treated, but that doesn't prove anything." And then he stopped, mid-sentence. His face changed color. "My hand," he whispered, his voice filled with amazement, his eyes widening as he stared at his own hands. "The pain, it's completely gone." He opened and closed his fingers. Within 30 minutes, the news spread like wildfire. Half the town knew. Dr. Hayes, the town's most practical and skeptical man, stood in the middle of the wharf, crying and holding up his hands to show everyone how flexible they were. But Dr. Hayes' miracle was only the beginning, because that afternoon, something even more unimaginable happened. Sarah Mitchell, 8, terminal leukemia. Her parents, Jennifer and Paul, had exhausted all medical options. The pediatric oncologist had given her 3 months to live. Jennifer heard about the statue and, in a mix of despair and faith, took Sarah to the harbor. "I know you must think I'm crazy," Jennifer said to Marcus, "but if there's even the slightest chance..." Marcus looked at the fragile girl and saw the image of David. His voice broke. "Of course you can see it." Sarah held the statue for exactly 5 minutes, completely silent. She prayed the way only children know how to pray, with absolute innocent faith. When she returned the statue, Sarah looked at her mother. "Mommy, I'm hungry." Jennifer was stunned. Sarah hadn't felt hungry in 2 months. At the hospital 3 days later, Dr. Rodriguez, an oncologist with 20 years of experience, reviewed the test results over and over again. "Mrs. Mitchell, Sarah's tumor markers have dropped
Mrs.
by
Mitchell,
70%.
I don't know how to
can't
explain
happen.
this.
It never will. As a doctor, I have to say this is impossible. I have no explanation." But we don't see the end yet. That night at 11:45 p.m., Linda woke up to the scent of roses filling the room. Roses in a house 200 meters from the ocean, where the scent was always salt. But that wasn't all. There was a soft glow coming from the living room. Linda thought Marcus had left something behind. When she went down to check, the statue was glowing, dimly, but with a warm, incredible golden light. "Marcus," she woke him, "you need to see this."
Listen to me.
Marcus walked down the stairs. He stood frozen in the middle of the room. The man who had lost his faith was seeing something that defied all logic. "David," he whispered, "somehow it's telling me it's okay." But Linda and Marcus weren't the only ones. That same night, the local church priest saw a soft light around the altar. 2 different families reported identical dreams. A woman dressed in blue said, "Have faith." The next day, there was no denying it. Something supernatural was happening in this small seaside town. And then Sunday changed everything. On Sunday at the 10 a.m. Mass, the church was packed for the first time in years. The statue was placed on the altar to be formally blessed by Father Michael. 350 people were present, including journalists from 3 local newspapers and 2 television stations. Father Michael was in the middle of his sermon when it started. It was raining, but not just any rain. It was raining inside the church, only raining on the altar. Outside, the sun was shining. Inside the church, a gentle rain fell from the ceiling onto the statue. 350 people saw it. TV cameras recorded it. Journalists took notes. The rain lasted exactly 7 minutes. When it stopped, there was a rainbow above the altar. Just above the altar. Dr. Hayes, a man of science, fell to his knees and wept.
Thank you, Blessed Mother.
Thank you.
Marcus hugged Linda for the first time in 2 years, as if he truly believed there was hope. Sarah Mitchell, who was showing signs of recovery, whispered, "Mother, he is here. He is here." And it was at that moment that an entire town understood they had witnessed something that would change their lives forever. In September 2024, 6 months after that March morning, the small seaside town would never be the same again. Sarah Mitchell completely recovered. Dr. Rodriguez told the press, "In my 25 years of practicing medicine, I have never seen such a complete and rapid reversal of terminal leukemia."
What is the church saying about the miracle?
"In 25 years of practicing medicine, I have never seen such a complete and rapid reversal of terminal leukemia," Dr. Rodriguez told the press. Dr. Hayes, whose arthritis is completely gone, is back to work full-time and says his hands have never been better. Marcus Thompson, a man who had lost his faith, found something greater than hope. He found peace. Now he spends Saturday mornings teaching fishing to young people in the community for free. Linda can grow roses in her garden on salty land near the ocean, where nothing has ever grown before. The church was always packed, but more than that, the city's crime rate dropped by 60%. Cases of depression dropped dramatically. 3 marriages that were on the verge of breaking up were reconciled. The statue is now permanently housed in the church. Visitors from different states come to see it. There are over 200 recorded reports of healing or significant improvement in medical conditions.
How did they build this without...
Dr. Hayes, now coordinator of a group of doctors documenting the cases. As a man of science, I can't explain what happened here. Marcus, looking out at the ocean where it all began. Every day before I cast my nets, I give thanks, not just for the fish, but for finding something that reminds me that David is okay, that God never abandons us, even when we think he has. This extraordinary story teaches us that miracles are not something reserved for ancient biblical times. They are happening right now, in the most ordinary and familiar waters of everyday life, for ordinary people like you and me.